What is up? And today we are going to be going over patch note 1.3.16 for the first Descendant. These patch notes came out yesterday, and we are actually pretty early because normally it would take us about a day or two to bring videos like this out because we'd be editing and stuff, making game background and stuff like that. But I just chose not to do that, and we're just gonna be just sitting right here with our boy right here and just going over the patch notes. If you guys want to see more and like the video, turn the notification bell and subscribe. Go share with one of your buddies. It would mean a lot to have this channel growing and to have a bigger community. And without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and jump in. Today we got a lot new content. Today we got new content called the breach tracking mission. You can go find this in the special operational terminal, and it will be mostly like a onslaught of enemies. There's a couple of commanders in there, actually a few commanders. You'll be going through like a couple of waves, a few waves actually. There will be 3 boxes that will drop. It says by completing the mission spawns anamorph dimensional stones, which can be opened with dimensional stabilization key to obtain awards. You can obtain the dimensional stabilization key. Field Colossus drops between 1 to 70. Field Intercept Battles Wall Crasher drops between 10 to 400, and you can purchase them via with quality certified ETA vouchers, which are the green ones. At the end of the mission, there are 3 dimensional stones will spawn. One of these stones has gold in it. The other one has superconductive foil in there, the ones that you use to re-roll the ancestor mods. And the other one has a box of just randomized stuff in it. And we have is modules. They added in 3 new trigger modules. One called Kill Chain. When a target summoned by a summon type skill attacks an enemy, grants strike target. When the caster hits a target inflicted with target strike using a weapon, deals additional damage based on skill power. Target strike is stackable, and each weapon hits removes a stack. Essentially, the more you hit an enemy with the summon type ability, you get stacks upon skill power, and after every the strike target is removed. Every time you hit a target, it is removed after the number of stats. Tactical strike, when using an explosive projectile type skill, inflicts tactical target on the hit target. Using a supply type skill on an enemy inflicted with tactical target causes an explosion that deals AoE damage. This effect is removed once its duration expires. Now, I'm not totally sure what this actually is, or who can be used for. The only person I can think of that has a supply type skill is Enzo. If there's any more, leave it in the comments. I would like to know. But it also says with an explosive projectile type, so I think anybody who has that type of skill can use this tactical strike, because it seems like it does more AoE damage for the explosive. Another trigger module called Two-Face, when using a chain type skill, has a chance to grant heads or tails to self, applies a cooldown after granting the effect. Heads increases skill power and tails increases skill range. So basically you're playing a whole 50-50 chance with a trigger module, and in my opinion, I think it's a pretty good one. You get range and you get skill power, and you kind of get either or. So it's really like, it's not a bad gambling game. I would not even like not use this. I can use this on Blair a lot because I remember, if I'm not mistaken, he does have a chain ability. We also have the 2 new modules that have been added into the game. This is Infection Amplifier. This is tailored to the trigger module called infected weapon target. On inflicting arcane inflection on a target grants infection amplifier to self. Inflection amplifier has a 30% chance to deal 250% of skill power as additional damage on skill hit against a target inflicted with arcane infection for 10 seconds. Basically, infected weapon is technically like a skill power giver, so it's just added on damage. So with this right here, you get more damage on top of that for like a 10-second duration period. That trigger mod is truly broken. Excuse me. You also have another one called Aftershock. This is tailored to the ground eruption trigger module that came out last update. Ground eruption target. When ground eruption deals additional damage to a target grants skill cooldown with a negative 18.4% increase for 10 seconds. While the effect is active, recovers 2.5% of max MP every 1 second. The cooldown for the entire module is 20 seconds. We also have 4 new ornaments. 3 new ornaments and 1 figurine. The Viesa Idol 1 figurine, the 3 ornaments. One of them is the dazzling headphone display stand. The other one is the unique headphone display stand, and the other one is the plain headphone display stand. We have a lot of Descendant rebalancing / improvements that is tailored to Enzo. We have, for the first one, for his default skill, the fire supporter is renamed to firing specialist. Additional effects: consuming the required amount of specific rounds activates a prep effect. Gains the firing specialist buff when 3 prep effects are active. Rounds capacity increased by 60%. Weapon change speed is increased by 25%. Recoil is negative 30%. And for his prep effects, it's required of consumption of 56 rounds. For his special rounds, it's 56, and for his impact rounds, it's 14. For the high-powered rounds, it's 12 rounds, and for his firing specialist, is duration of 30 seconds, and the fire explosive attack increase to 75%, dealing additional damage when attacking with a firearm. Explosion damage, X damage multiplier percentage. This damage multiplier entails of max shield times 0.69%, max damage multiplier of 171%. With the start supply of one of his abilities, it can now be used while sprinting, adjusted to allow for faster transition to other actions after free use. Supply range of bullet supplying device has been increased from a 35-second cooldown to about a 45-second cooldown increase. Increase the MP cost for his round from 35. That's a decrease. From a 35 to a 24 MP cost. Bullet supplying device field supply is increased by 8% to 80%. Intercept battle supplies is increased by 12% to 80%. Quick load is now renamed to firearm reinspection. Increase the fire rate, recoil, and reload time modifier. His explosive drones can now be used while sprinting. The max stacks of his explosive drone has been increased to 2 to 3. Stack cooldown of the explosive drone is now increased to 19 seconds to 23 seconds. The MP cost is decreased from 19 to 18. Increase the range from 3 meters to 4.5 meters. Decrease the max expandable range from 300% to 250%. Changed the name for enhanced combat suit to enhanced combat suits. Defense can now be used while sprinting. Changed the arcane type from that to dimension to singular. Increase the cooldown for it from 30 seconds to 45 seconds. Decrease the MP cost from 40 to 30. Increase the duration of the enhanced combat suit defense by 6 seconds to 8 seconds. Has a continuous shield recovery from 16 seconds to 10%. Movement speed is increased, 15% has been added. For the perfect support, it can be used while sprinting again. Change the arcane type from singular to dimension. Increase the cooldown from 90 seconds to 120 seconds. Decrease the MP cost from 60 to 50. Small supply ship has been increased by duration from 7.5 seconds to 15 whole seconds. Increase the damage by the small supply ship from 15.9% to 354.6%. The small missiles, I'm not sure what was the missile fired, but it's 3. Firing interval is 1.5. Explosive damage is 216.3%. I think they left everything with the small missiles. The big missile explosive damage has been increased to 138.2% to 7,559.7%. Decrease the expendable range by 300% from 250 to 250. Lowered the supply cycle to 1.5 to 1 second. Field supply to 11. Decreased it to 11 to 7%. Intercept battle supply from 11 to 10%. And increase the perfect support skill firearm attack increase to 20% to 25%. For the explosive attack increase, multi-hit damage is increased by 20%. They removed the firearm critical hit rate increase and removed the reload time modification. For his modification module, compressed bullet, supply technical armor has been renamed to compressed bullet. Consuming the required amount of specific rounds activates a prep effect, gains the firing specialist buff when 3 prep effects are activated. It was the same with his first skill, which was fire supporter with his default skill. For all the weapons, the only thing that changed here was they lowered down the firearm explosive attack increase and firearm regular from 200% to 125%. They also have the damage multiplier times by max shield to 1.03%, and the new max damage multiplier is 256.5%. Can now be used while sprinting for his start supply. New has the cooldown to 30, MP cost is 20, duration is 12%, field supply is 100, intercept battle supply is 100%, can spawn 2 as the maximum, 50% fire rate, negative 20% recoil. With the explosive drone, he can now use it while sprinting. Max stack is 3, stack cooldown is 23 seconds, MP cost is 18. With the explosive drone, 4.5 meters, expendable range is 250. Rounds recovery on use is 5%. Modification module supply firearm enhancer has been increased. Firearm enhancer is now removed upon consuming a certain number of bullets of switching weapons rather than upon reloading or changing other said weapons. MP cost is decreased by 30 to 20. Max bullet is 125. Critical hit rate increased by 25%. For the special rounds is 15, 35, and negative 100 for the critical hit damage. For the impact rounds, max bullet is 80. Weak point damage increases 40%. Drop off start for both effect range is 100%. High powered rounds is 50. Fire critical hit damage is increased by 30%. Explosive range 60. Shell capacity is 20%. Same thing with Everything else, the only thing that got changed was his reinforced front line from 25 seconds to 60 seconds, and his MP cost is now lowered from 30 to 25. Duration is now lowered from 10 seconds to 8 seconds, 6 meters to 9 meters, and expendable range 300 to 250. With his defense is 50%, and his firearm explosive attack has been increased by max HP plus max shield times 0.2%, with his 120% max firearm explosive attack increase. With his perfect support, MP cost is 60 to 50. Supply cycle is 1.5 seconds to 1 second, and I think that is it for Enzo. Moving on to Jaber, his turret sync grants various effects depending on the target. The activation is removal. The activation and removal conditions are the same. Jaber, Jaber's turn sync attack was increased by 20 to 30% for his firearm attack increase. Firearm fire rate is now 20%. Reload speed is 30. Skill power increased was removed. His turns now do 20% more retained damage. Firearm attack increase is removed. Assault turns, and this applies to all modules. Now he can use his turns while sprinting. This is good, especially for Jaber because he's always on the move. His MP cost has been lowered from 30 to 24. Seems like they're kind of giving all the Descendants an MP cost so you can kind of use their abilities without having to worry about, MP every single time, and without having to put on MP Collector. His attack damage was increased by 200 to 500. Explosive damage, was increased by 500 to 1,000. Explosive range is now increased from 3 to 5 meters. His duration on his turret zone is now decreased from 10 to 4 seconds, and his damage interval is 0.3 seconds to 0.5 seconds. Damage for his turret zone has been increased from 200 to 700. Damage range is 6 to 5 has been a decrease. Same thing with his medical turret. The only thing that changed here was his recovery interval has been changed from a 1.5 seconds to 1 second. Skill power modifier caster has been increased from a whopping 75.5% to a full 100%. Explosive damage increased by 500 to 1,000. Same thing with the explosive range is increased from 3 meters to 5 meters. Duration is now lowered by 10 to 4 seconds. And the taunt range for his medical drone is 5.5 meters to 6 meters. Multi-purpose gun, its cost is now 30 to 15. Cooldown is 15 seconds to 30 seconds. Explosive damage is increased by 500 to 2,000. Explosion damage range is 3 meters to 5 meters. Bullet max for his multi-purpose gun has been increased to 12 to 14. Duration is increased on turn hit 15 seconds to 7 seconds has been lowered. And he can use his reactivation skill, and explosion damage is now raised up from 4,000 to 5,000 now, with his duration of 30 seconds to 15 seconds. Movement speed is increased to 25% to 35%. Skill modules and adjusted some skill performance of the turret engineering module. With his assault turret stack cooldown from increased to 20 seconds to 30. Turret installation limit has been increased, from 3 to 4, with the stack of cooldown with 10 seconds to 15 seconds, and his turret installation limit for 3 to 4 with his medical turret. Turret engineering can now be used while sprinting. It applies enhanced turret to all summoned turrets. So it raises the skill power increase by 25% and has a new thing with additional skill attack versus Colossus and Commander. I've seen this like a pattern. I wonder if they're going to just add this for all Descendants, but they've actually had added a additional attack from Commanders and Colossus. I've actually seen this on Viessa because she has it where it's just permanently there. I think for certain modules, if I'm not mistaken. With her skill module adjusted, some skill performance of the immediate purge code is MP cost is now lowered from 30 to 15. Cooldown is 15 seconds to 75 seconds. That is an increase. That is an insane increase for his cooldown. But it's probably going to be lowered if you put the right modules on there, so it's perfectly fine. Max expandable range is 200 to 250. Explosion damage from 500 to 2000. Max bullets is lowered from 12 to 7. On hit, increases the duration from 15 seconds and lowered it down to 7 seconds. New effect for the enhanced turn up to 5 stacks with a skill power increase by 15%. Added an additional damage with against Colossus and Commander. Duration is now 7 seconds. Would that be used while sprinting? Adjusted to allow for faster transition to other actions after use. Explosion. Explosion damage is increased with immediate purge code from 5,000 to 7,000. Expendable range to 200 and 250. With lightning AoE for his duration, 10 seconds to 7. Continuous damage from 5,000 to 8,000. No, excuse me. 500 to 800 for his continuous damage for his immediate purge code. Damage intervals from 1 second to 0.5 seconds with the expandable range from 200 to 250. And with his overhaul ability for his duration has been lowered down to 30 seconds to 15 seconds and increased his movement speed by 25% to 35%. On to Eugen slash the regular Eugen. The tooltip description for his stimulant spray has been supplemented. The added description states that the skill effect applies not only to allies but also to Eugen himself. Skill performance remains unchanged. Ultimate Eugen for his skill module combat protocol. The tooltip description has been supplemented to clarify the conditions under the BioLink drone can now deal enhanced damage. Skill performance remains unchanged. When acquiring the combat protocol effect multiple times simultaneously with the reconstruction compound skill, the acquisition notification will now display only once. The effect, acquisition rules, and performance remained unchanged. Also added the Field Colossus Pyromaniac added to Ancient Plains, so on with the same schedule as the existing. We have a new event called a Girls and Cell X-Star debut. This event will go from the 15th, which is technically yesterday, to next month on the 4th. You get all these, again, to clarify, this is not a web event. All you need to sit there and do is open up the game and go and hold your pause button or whatever you play on, hold your pause button and go to the event tab, and then you can see it right there. After every I don't know, every other day or maybe weekend, there will be a boost called Mining Day. It will boost the applied effects when playing content during the event period. It will increase the gold and Kuiper shard gain by plus 20% and Axiom playing gold and Kuiper by 20% for every weekend period. On with the content, Axiom playing Field Colossus battle. Upon defeating a Colossus, you can obtain materials needed to enhance modify your vehicle. They increased it from a quantity of, for the specially treated alloy from 100 to 2,000, insulating nut from 50 to 1,000, and alloy bearing from 15 to 350. And the high conductivity wire from 15 to 350. So we'll have some equipment and module reworks for the Thunder Cage, Nashia's Devotion, Greg's Reversal Fade, and Afterglow Sword. For the Thunder Cage, on hitting a target with a firearm inflicts quick charge. Hitting a target inflicted with quick charge with a firearm triggers electric shockwaves, inflicting damage and overcharge on nearby targets. Defeating a target inflicted with quick charge with a firearm electrical shockwave or thunder triggers electric shockwave, inflicting damage and overcharge on nearby targets. Hitting a target inflicted with overcharge with electric shockwave strikes the target with thunder, inflicting damage and electrocution. Okay, just to summarize that, because it was a lot even when I was reading it for the first time. Basically, to put it in all, when you hit the enemy with the Thunder Cage and inflicts quick charge is inflicted. Quick charge triggers electric shockwave. Electric shockwaves triggers overcharge, and overcharge inflicts thunder, and thunder inflicts electrocution. So it basically is an entire cycle, if you put it that way, just to summarize it. For the Nashia's Devotion, on hitting a weak point inflicts Phantasm on the target and nearby enemies. Has a chance to inflict Charmed. Phantasm reduces the target's defense. Inflicting Phantasm on the enemies grant Devotion to self. Devotion increases your firearm attack. The number of Devotion stacks increase with the number of enemies inflicted with Phantasm. On hitting an enemy, consumes additional bullets and supplies bullets to the hit ally. Greg's Reversal Fate got an entire rework, so it doesn't even work like hitting an enemy and then here comes the bombardments. They said with on hitting an enemy grants ready bombardments at max stacks of ready bombardment. Hitting an enemy triggers bombardment around the enemy's location. If bombardment hits multiple times with the same bombardment, the damage dealt is reduced. Bombardment is infected by multi-hit damage. Defeating an enemy with bombardment grants enhanced bombardment. Enhanced bombardment increases the range and additional damage on bombardment. So this doesn't even work like before of Greg's Reversal Fate, because beforehand you'd be able just to hit the enemy and the bombardments used to just pour in, so you just have this large bombardment. But basically when you're hitting an enemy or hitting multiple enemies, it works based off of multi-hit. So they basically telling you to turn this weapon into a multi-hit type of weapon, but you can still use it as crit. Okay, you get, I think the max stack is 5 stacks of bombardment. After those bombardments have been placed, one giant bombardment will come in and wipe everything. Not wipe everything, emphasis is on that, and cause the attack for all the enemies to be reduced. For the Afterglow Sword, holding aim on a target engages lock-on. Lock-on automatically aims on a target's weak point. Attacking an enemy's weak point and lock-on increases firearm attack and weak point damage. Sword, they increased the melee weapon attack from 54,362. Actually, this is a lowered. Hold on. Oh, no, it is an increase. They increased that by a lot. From 54,000 to 54,362 to 410,454. That is a giant increase. For the melee weapon attack, toxic attack, from 27,000 to 205,000. They also increased the multiplier. They also decreased the multiplier from attacking versus Legion of Immortality elites from a multiplier of 4.0 to 1.5. For the max block gauge is increased from 100 to 200, and the maintain block gauge is 1.8 to 1.5. For the DSX Monus, it is a increase for melee weapon attack to 108,251, increased by 200,000. For the chill damage is 9,000 to 215,000. They also decreased the Legion of Breach Commanders, the same numbers for the Legion of Immortality Elite, increased the block gauge by 150 to 300, and decreased the block gauge from 2.5 to 2.2. With the Hypernova, the melee weapon attack, 41,000 to 217,000. Chill attack is 22,000 to 119,000. Same thing with the multiplier for the damage multiplier versus Legion of Darkness Elite. Max block gauge from 100 to 200. Maintain block gauge cost from lowered from 2.0 to 1.8. We went over about everything. One thing I have to sit there and say before I end this off, Enzo got an enormous rework. Holy, because I remember in the roadmap they put out, they was actually gonna do an entire rework for that character, which would have been amazing. So that means for anybody who pairs up Serena and Enzo together, they would be crazy in Void Erosion Purge. I'm gonna have some real fun testing out the new Thunder Cage rework because holy, that is a giant rework for weapons. I haven't seen that in a while, and even when me and my friend we were talking about how the weapons in the future of the TFD is going to be, I think we kind of came to the conclusion of like, bro, these weapons are going to be like, these weapons need to be buffed because we have these high level intercept battles and these high level operations and stuff like that, and these weapons are going to be falling behind. So giving these weapons more abilities or more buffs or more, more something, kind of like showing love, not just focusing all their attention on Descendant abilities, kind of gives that balance of like, hey, we don't want these weapons to fall behind because we still want you to use your favorite weapons from when you first started the game to win in endgame, because in endgame it's just only gonna get increased from here. But that's all I gotta sit there and say for now. If you guys like the video, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and turn up on the notification bell if you guys want to see more. And I'll stay posted and updated about these patch notes, and hopefully we will be hopefully it will be a little bit shorter than the other ones, but I'm gonna at least try to sit there and make this between about 20 to about 30 minutes long. If it's a little bit longer, I did my best, but enough yapping. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.